So I want to show you how I repotted and divided this Mangave. This is the Aztec King Mangave by Monrovia, and it grows about 2 feet tall and 4 feet wide, so about twice what you see here. And it takes full sun. I've had it in the nursery pot sitting inside this very container. And the container is about twice the size of the nursery pot, so it was time for it to move in there because it's kind of outgrown its nursery pot. So let's take a look at it. This plant was impossible to get out of this pot because it had been growing in the nursery pot for the whole season and pretty darn root bound. So I had to cut it open. Once I did, I saw just how tight the roots were, and I knew I had a lot of work to do. I'm actually a little ashamed of how bad I let this get. I had every intention of repotting it earlier in the season, but I never did. So it is what it is. So here I'm going to just remove some of the leaves that got kind of damaged. It's the older leaves. They were aging out anyway. And then I figure may as well start tackling these roots. So I try to do it as gently as I can. I don't want to damage it. I try to avoid using the knife wherever I could. So I just wanted to loosen them up so that they could grow into the new soil. Now, while I'm at it, there are some pups that are growing off of this main plant. So I want to get those out of here as well. So I do have to use a knife to get it because these are in here pretty tough. I want to try and get as much of the roots that are connected to the pups, if any, out intact. This particular one was the smaller one, and I was not able to get much root. So I'm going to use some rooting hormone and just go ahead and try and get it. Now, the other one came out a little bit easier, and I was able to get all of the roots as well, or at least a good amount of roots. So I think that we'll be able to propagate these and start growing out some brand new ones. I also have another one of these down in my nursery as well. So I'm going to have a lot of Mangaves for next season, it looks like. Now, you want to be very careful when you're cleaning this plant up or dividing it out because it does have some spikes. It's not as bad as an agave because it's mixed with a manfreda, but you still want to be careful just so that you don't cut yourself. This porcelain container has a very large drainage hole, so I want to cover that up. And what I do is I hang on to the drainage inserts from my flowering baskets, and then I'm able to use them here so that I don't lose all the potting soil out. Once I've gotten this filled with soil, I go ahead and add in the plant. Once I add more soil and get it watered in, we're all set. So this is the finished product. I love a hybrid. You get the best of both worlds. So you get the structure of an agave plant, but you get these beautiful colors from a manfreda. Now, because of that, you will not get any tequila from this plant. All right. I think it pairs really well with this purple heart down below, and it contrasts nicely with the fiddle leaf fig there. So let's go down to the nursery and pot up these pups that came off of this plant as well. So I'm down in the nursery, and some of you know from a previous video that it also doubles as my closet. All right, but in either case, we're gonna go ahead and pot up those pups that came off of the Mangave we just repotted upstairs. So let's get to it. Here are the two pups from the mother plant upstairs. I have an equal amount of potting soil and seed starting mix. I'm also going to use a rooting compound for that smaller pup that didn't have any roots. I need to also score the bottom of it, so I need some scissors for that. Gloves are going to come in really handy because even though they're small, they still have some spikes. I start by dipping that smaller pup in some water. This is the one that didn't have any roots. And I'm going to score the bottom of it just a little bit just to expose some of that inside of the tuber because that's where the roots are going to come from now. And I want to remove a little bit of that skin that's on there. Again, I just want to have as much contact with the rooting powder and the soil in order to make new roots. And I'll start by just pouring a little bit of the rooting powder out on the table because I don't want to dip it directly into the bottle. It could contaminate future cuttings that I do. So I just roll it around in there just to get it coated on all those exposed pieces, especially where I scored into the tuber. And after that, all I have to do is place it directly into the soil. The larger pup is a lot easier to deal with because it had roots already. So I'm just adding soil and packing it in. So here they both are all done. And you can see the purple coloration coming through on the larger one because it was getting more light. For Mangaves, if they don't get light, then they don't have that coloration. Eventually, they'll both look just like the mother plant upstairs or like this other one here in the nursery. So that's it. That is the Aztec King Mangave by Monrovia.